All right, so we're talking Xfinity at Auto Club. This is going to be a bit of a longer episode, and I anticipate the first 20-25 minutes to be talking about the back half of the field. We'll talk about the good teams later. Just going to, really just talk about things entering the Auto Club that I think you should know. Secondly, this is one of the videos that I would normally just do audio only. I'm not really sure what to show you because I'm just mainly going over notes and different things back and forth. Nothing really anything to look at on the screen, but I'll keep it on me because people complain whenever there's no video. And Brandon, show something on this. What am I going to show you? The entry list? Like, what does that do? What is that just to look at, I guess? I don't know. But anyway, so you'll just be looking at me through this third. Let's talk about sponsorships really quick. So some of these teams that are racing this week at Auto Club withdrew. They just didn't see the point of driving out west. Some of the teams that are still here did not qualify last week at Daytona, so they're already behind the 8 ball in terms of trying to get in the top, 33 of owner points for the Xfinity Series to at least be locked in owner points. I think it's after the 5th race of this season. And so some of those guys are already behind the 8 ball. I know it's the Mike Harmon car. I know it's the Josh Sarune car. Fourthly, let's kind of talk about sponsorships real quick. Everybody here has sponsors, depending on what you consider a sponsor. But it's more so the situation that a lot of these teams are involved in. So when we jump in and look at a car that did not qualify last week at Daytona, the 47 car that is going to be driven by Brennan Poole for Mike Harmon, this is a situation to where they need to qualify in on speed. They're not going to get in on points. That's just how it's going to be. And so Brennan Poole being in that car is the main reason why I think he's in the car. I think that car is going to be trimmed out entirely for qualifying. I'm worried that even though Brennan Poole's $4,600, he's not going to offer much upside because that team's going to arrive to Auto Club, have 15 minutes, to get out on the track, which they normally don't do a lot of laps anyway. So going there, knowing that they got to qualify in on time, they're going to send Poole out there, do maybe 3 to 7 laps under green in practice, probably less than that, and say, hey, what do we need for qualifying? We're just going to trim this thing out. We also don't want to just overheat these tires, or I'm assuming that they're going to change tires because that would kind of be a death sentence. But this is a situation to where, Brennan Poole's going to go out in the 47 car, run those laps. This track is going to be abrasive. It is going to eat those tires apart. So that set of tires is pretty much gone. They might use that later. I doubt they will because this track is just going to eat them up unless they do 1 or 2 laps in practice. Moving on, do you invest another, it used to be like $2 to $3 grand for a set of tires. I went blank on the exact number, and I haven't looked at it this year. I'm assuming it's gone up with the supply chain issues that even Goodyear's run into. So I'm assuming those tires are even more expensive. But do you waste putting on a new set of tires just for qualifying if you're Mike Harmon to do 1 lap? And then what if you don't qualify? You're just pissing money away. So I'm assuming, big brain and galaxy brain idea, that they do not put on new tires for qualifying. I think they run the 47 car once or twice in practice to get a shakedown and send Poole out there full taped up solid trying to qualify their way in. That's the reason why right now I'm not a fan of the 47. And if he makes that field, I don't think I'm going to be using Brennan Poole, even if he starts in the back at $4,700. Just that's a slippery slope. When we move on to the next car that did not qualify last weekend that I think we need to talk about is 33 of Will Rogers, which going back, Nally Decker failed to qualify last weekend. And I forgot what they call it with the Busch sponsorship, but I'm going to call it the Busch push for diversity because that's really what it is. It's a PR move by Busch to sponsor, all the female drivers who, I'll say this again, didn't even qualify for the races at Daytona. Jennifer Jo Cobb didn't qualify. Nally Decker didn't qualify. The Tony, what's her name, and Arca didn't know you had to go full throttle at Daytona. So we're picking good drivers here, Busch. I'm glad you guys are diversifying the field there. So that 33 is going to have to qualify in. I think Will is going to elevate that car. I think that car is going to be fine. It'll probably be slower. It'll probably clock in maybe around 28th in practice. That's what I got to assume. I do think the 33 makes they go in. I'm pretty sure that we have 41 cars fighting for 38 spots. 3 cars are going to go home. I don't think it's going to be the 33. In terms of the slower cars, so we'll continue on from here. Joe Graff Jr., $4,500. I would much rather honestly play Matt Mills versus Joe Graff Jr. when we're talking about these lower teams here. And I got to control F real quick. Sorry. So when we look at Matt Mills, I think BJ McLeod is actually running better equipment this year. Maybe not for Matt Mills. I think Mills is still going to be slow. But when we look at the guys who are in these BJ McLeod cars, why is my arrow not working here? What is going on? Control F didn't want to work. So anyway, the main movement that we saw was Josh Williams coming over from DGM to BJ McLeod Motorsports in the 78 car. I think Josh Williams is there because of sponsorship. You can argue that, if he still had sponsorship, he'd still be with DGM. But if anybody, DGM, when you look at the previous years that Josh Williams was there, he was the only one with a consistent sponsor or at least consistently bringing money in. And so, sure, Matt Mills scares me at $4,700, but I like Josh Williams, and I think people are going to see that he goes into a BJ McLeod car. We see that, we haven't really seen much of him outside of the DGM cars out of these past years. I like Josh Williams going into this race, and when we look at Josh Williams in terms of his pricing, I think $6,100 is a perfect price for him. When we continue to move up, I mean, we can even look at people like Mason Massey and going over to Mario Goslin. This situation where this is an even farther downgrade. Mason Massey is going to be in the 91 car. I'm pretty sure the cars that moved out or that withdrew were the 35, the Jimmy Means car, and I forgot who the other one was. There we go. It was Jimmy Means, Rhodes, and it was Dexter Bean in the 90 car. And so I think that 91 there is just here to score points. Mason Massey is probably the guy I'm scared of the most within the 4K range when we're here. When we get to Joey Gaze at $5,000, I like what Joey Gaze is bringing. I don't mind it. I really don't. And obviously, I would like to see more data on it, and I would like to get more than just a 15-minute practice session, and I think Gaze is probably going to run 8 laps, 7 laps. So let's think about it, because Auto Club, you get a lap done. I'm off the top of my head. Let me look real quick. Actually, probably should do that. Yeah, so I was right in my head. So you're looking at like a 41-second lap in a 15-minute practice session, and I think the big teams are going to go out there and run the entire 15 minutes because they're going to want to get an idea of what their car has, and I don't think they're going to arrive to the track with just a poorly set up vehicle. But when we're looking at people, like Joey Gaze, Massey, even Curry, the smaller teams, I think you go out there and run maybe, 7 laps at most, 7-10 laps at most. You get a 5-lap run in, but I think after that you might just pull down the garage. You might not get back out there again. And so Joey Gaze is a guy that I want to see what he has, because in my mind I have Joey Gaze, around 27th, around 26th, and I don't know if he necessarily qualifies there. And so I'm very interested to see what Joey Gaze does. And I'm curious where these guys are getting their cars from, not just Gaze, but all these other Gaze, not Gaze. I said Gaze. I'm curious where they're getting their cars from, because MBM is down to 1 car now. And last week, JJ Yaley was running an old JTG Daughtery. I hate that name. I hate the team name. But they were running an old Stenhouse car, and I have to assume that may have been a Hendrick chassis or something. Anyway, JJ Yaley is back in a Chevy, and I'm assuming that Carl Long bought some chassis on the cheap from the Gen 6 era, and that's why we're seeing him just down to 1 car, and that's why we're seeing JJ Yaley show up with sponsorships this week and show up with real cars. And so I like Gaze. I gotta fix that. I like Joey Gaze a lot right now. Ryan Vargas, you still got to prove to me. Him at 5,200. Obviously, he ran up front last week at Daytona. That's Daytona. This is the test for Ryan Vargas. I still think Vargas is going to be racing around 26th, 27th. But I really want to be ahead of the curve right now at this race, specifically looking at value plays. And so at the moment, entering the week, I don't mind Joey Gase. I don't mind Bailey Curry. And I think Bailey Curry actually does perform pretty well, because this is going to be the best car that Curry has been in the JD Motorsports machine. And I would much rather play Bailey Curry over Ryan Vargas. Kyle Sieg is a bit of an interesting fellow in the 28 car. When we looked at him, when we played him last year, and when we looked at Kyle Sieg last year, he never really did anything that just blew the socks off of us. And I was a guy who was trying to see where. Actually, hold on a second. Give me a moment. X out of my stuff. Apologize, I X'd out of my stuff. I was looking to see where he, because he crashed at Dover, ran 27th at Phoenix, and Kyle Sieg is, a young guy, obviously the brother of Ryan Sieg, but a guy that I would much rather trust at the short tracks and stuff. I feel like Kyle Sieg is going to struggle a lot here at Auto Club entering this week. And so when I get there, still going off the guys that I think I'm going to have interest in, it's going to be Joey at $5,000. It's going to be Bailey Curry at 53. Even Kyle Weatherman is a guy that I think is going to perform really, really good in the Mario Gosselin machine, because look, Weatherman has shown promise. His issue was reliability last year with the Mike Harmon cars. Him in the Mario Gosselin car, I like it. Now he is bringing the some then related to law enforcement in California. And I said it before, and this is not me being like, oh man, blue lives don't matter. But in terms of sponsorship money, I'm not necessarily sure. If I can find Kyle Weatherman over here, I'm not necessarily sure how much money they're bringing into this machine running these. Who is this? Porak. Okay, here. This is an example of stuff that I will show, and this is not me crapping on anything. But when we look at cars that I think are going to be fully funded, talk to me, driver. Is this a car that gives you a ton of confidence in terms of being fully funded? I'm going to say no. I will say that I don't think they're going to run into reliability issues that the Mike Harmon cars ran into a lot, because Kyle Weatherman drove a hunk of junk for Mike Harmon a ton, and he was able to get in the top 20, run, 18th, 16th, and then have something break. And so I'm hoping that people will see the sponsorship on Williams' car, be a bit hesitant, because they're like, oh, he doesn't have a real sponsor, which we can argue if he does or doesn't. I can't imagine they're paying him a lot of money for that. But I'm not going to argue the reliability. This car is going to be way better than the Mike Harmon car that we ran last year. I don't see him running into issues there. And so going through right now, I like Joey Gaze. I like Gaze. Why do I keep saying his last name like I'm saying Gaze? Like that. I swear I'm not some bigot over here. I like Bailey Curry. I like Kyle Weatherman. I like JJ Yaley. And all these guys are under $5,600. And I'm thinking we might only need one. I honestly don't hate the idea of playing two of these guys, specifically like if you were building a lineup chasing lap leaders, or if somebody up front, or if somebody expensive, just pisses the bed in qualifying and you need the place differential plus a lap leader. I don't hate the idea of playing people like Yaley and Curry together, or two of these guys there. Will Rogers, I think he is a bit, like I said, I don't mind Will Rogers. I think he'll perform just fine, but I think he's overpriced compared to the guys that I've just talked about, because I think Yaley, I know it's an MBM car, but I think Yaley is going to run top 25 in speeds. I think Kyle Weatherman's going to run top 25 in speeds. Same thing can be said about Bailey Curry. These guys are going to be running top 25 on the fringe of the top 20. And so when I look at Will Rogers for the Reum brothers, I think Will Rogers runs in around 28th, 29th. And so I don't really want to pay for that. And then we get to by far what I think is the best play. I think he's going to be chalky. Mainly because the contest is small, and obviously I'm going to talk about him here, but this is the best car Timmy Hill he's ever driven, at least recently. Timmy Hill reminds me of a guy by the name of Johnny Benson, a man who never necessarily had the best equipment, during his career, but man, Johnny Benson wheeled it. And you want to talk about Timmy Hill gonna wheel a car, the 38 for RSS Racing, fully sponsored. And the reason I'm so excited about Timmy Hill in this car is because if you compare, clearly I believe that he's getting the same equipment that Ryan Sieg is getting. Okay, that's right then and there. But when you look at talent between Ryan Sieg and Timmy Hill, give that to Timmy. Give that all to Timmy. And so if Ryan Sieg is taking his, team's equipment and running, top 16 in times, last year we would see him running anywhere from 18th to 11th, and if Ryan is doing that, I can't wait to see what Timmy Hill can do in this car. I think Timmy Hill can run top 15 in this equipment, in this car. And for $5,900, I'm probably going to be overweight on Timmy Hill this weekend. I expect him to perform very well in practice. And even if he performs bad, that's fine. It's Timmy Hill. I trust Timmy Hill a ton. In a car that's fully funded, in a car that is by far way more reliable than any car he's been in. And specifically, when you look back at, he's running full-time in the Truck Series this year, and he's running his own equipment in the Truck Series. He's going to take care of his stuff, and this is more me talking about the Truck Series. But I truly believe if there's a truck race this year that is just like Dover last year is a perfect example. When they had that big wreck and Timmy Hill finished inside the top 13 at the truck race at Dover. And that was him, just running a part-time being there. Now Timmy Hill is running full-time. I think Timmy Hill, this is going to sound crazy, but if truck races get stupid and start clicking off stupid races a lot starting this year, I think Timmy Hill has a chance to make the playoffs in the Truck Series. Because Timmy Hill is not going to wreck cars. He's going to race smart, going to stay on the lead lap. I'm bringing the same type of mentality here for Timmy Hill in the Xfinity Series. He's not going to race stupid. He's not going to be right beside the wall. He'll probably be a lane below it, but he's not going to put this car in danger. Timmy Hill is not going to wreck the car. I say that, anything can happen. I absolutely trust Timmy Hill here. And so these are the guys right now. When I looked at the salaries that were released, I was like, this is insane. I love Timmy Hill. I love J.J. Yaley. I love Kyle Weatherman, Bailey Curry, Joey Gase for $5,000. I like these guys, man. I don't want to mess with Ryan Vargas. I'm not messing with Mason Massey. Jesse Iwuji is a joke. Come on, people. Did you see the man enter pit road? I mean, did you see that? Didn't even try and stop. Jesse has an issue finding the brake pedal. No lie. That's not me talking trash. Remember his wreck at Vegas a couple years ago in the Truck Series? Hits the wall, flies into the pit road wall, didn't even touch the brake. They got to come down pit road at Daytona, doesn't even touch the brake. Probably enters the pit road going 140. I mean, just clearly not even trying. And so I don't want to mess with those guys. Poole, I truly believe Poole makes the race. I think people are going to see Brendan Poole starting wherever he starts at $4,600 and play Brendan Poole in a race where I'd be a bit hesitant to play him. As we move farther up, I'm not playing Parsons. I just don't trust Stephen Parsons. Josh Williams, I think he's a good play, but he's $6,100. If I can, I'm going to play guys a lot cheaper than him. Jade Buford, $6,200. I think that's a bit cheap. I think he should be probably around 68, but, he's been pushed back in the field a bit when we got, so many R Motorsports cars, when we got so many cars in there. That should be running better. Second thing is, there is a tweet, and you can find parts of it on Twitter, but I want to try and use this as an example, and the exact numerical value behind it, in my opinion, doesn't really matter. It's more the premise. And so Junior Motorsports put out a tweet earlier saying that, we're going west, we're heading towards inflation and stuff, kind of joking about, this is going to be expensive. And there's rumors going around from one guy that I do tend to trust from the front, from J-Ski, and a couple other guys throughout Twitter was saying that, Junior Motorsports on the inside is kind of saying that this trip is going to cost them around $25,000 more than it did last time they went to Auto Club or on the West Coast for the Xfinity Series. Divide that by 4 tractor trailers. What is that, like $6,200, somewhere around there? Not crazy, but that does show the extent of, and clearly, obviously, we got the thing in Russia. This is not me being like, oh my God, prices are going up because there's a war. We're just talking purely about sponsorships and money and how far that goes. And that's an example of yet again, if somebody pays the team, let's say, not even Junior Motorsports, let's just say, a team of 4 cars gets a sponsorship for $100,000, 25 of it is lost right there due to, gas and stuff like that. And so that's why sponsorships are so huge. And whenever you see on Twitter of like, wow, Busch Light is giving, I forgot how many millions it was, but divided between all the female drivers, it's like nothing. Whenever, companies come out and be like, hey, we're sponsoring so-and-so's car, we're giving them $800,000. That sounds like a lot of money, but in racing, it's absolutely nothing. And so, I don't think people really realize that. And so that's why, going back to me kind of criticizing the Kyle Weatherman sponsor, that's not me shitting on the sponsor. That's me being like, I clearly don't believe that they're getting, enough money to make money. I mean, obviously you don't go into racing to make money, but it clearly helps whenever you get, a good amount of money. And so yet again, talking about sponsorships and stuff, it's a trickle down effect. Like if somebody gets a sponsorship now, you don't see the effects of that sponsorship until 2-3 weeks down the line. Whereas that sponsor might not even be on the car, but the money from that sponsor is just barely getting to the team in terms of buying tires, in terms of buying motors, in terms of buying body panels and things of that nature. And so you need to remember that. And I'm doing this mainly as a refresher for people who, haven't been here or don't care about Xfinity or just are oblivious to, how little or how the small distance that money in racing really takes you. Let's see, continuing on. Tommy Joe Martin's in this race. I'm pretty sure Casgrala is racing as well. And so Tommy Joe Martin, 6,300. I don't know if we're going to end in this area a lot when it comes to, at least my takeaway right now on a Thursday evening is that I'm not going to end up in the 6K range a lot. I feel like I'm going to be going, mid fives, trying to get in Timmy Hill, Yaley, guys like that, and not really touching on Tommy Joe Martin's, Jade Buford, Alex LeBay, certainly not Jeffrey Earnhardt, because Jeffrey, you got to show me something again. Maybe I do play Jeffrey Earnhardt. The Sam Hunt car, $6,800, depends on how crappy he qualifies, but if he qualifies bad and shows up bad in practice, it means that Jeffrey Earnhardt's bad. And so I'm not excited about that. We'll see. I'll leave that up to practice data. So Jeffrey Earnhardt would concern me because if he practices bad and then qualifies poorly, say he starts 30th or whatever, people are going to see the Sam Hunt car starting 30th. I don't know if Jeffrey Earnhardt can get back up to like 25th or something, So then that's a concern that I have if Earnhardt starts back and people think that he's a great place differential play. Clements is probably going to start, inside top 20, probably around 18th to 12th. Same thing with Ryan Sieg, but if you're playing Ryan Sieg, just got to go down and play Timmy Hill for a discount there. Brandon Brown, cheap. I think that's a misprice on Brandon Brown. I think he should be a bit higher. Brandon Brown showed last year that he is consistently going to be 11th, 10th, 9th, 8th place driver. And I think that's a steal for $7,200. I'd actually rather play him over Anthony Alfredo because Alfredo is, I would say Anthony Alfredo is on par with Brett Moffitt and what he was able to do in this car last year. And clearly Brett Moffitt's in this race. And so when you look at the R Motorsports cars, Alfredo, Moffitt, Jeb Burton, these cars last year didn't, and trust me, I played a shit ton of Brett Moffitt last year. I want to play him at the road courses, but when we look at where I think R Motorsports is going to run, I think they're going to run very similar to where they qualify, and so I don't necessarily see a lot of place differential, at least right now, a lot of upside from R Motorsports, because all three cars should qualify in the top 17, should start anywhere between 12th to 17th. They should all finish in the range between 12th to 17th, and so I don't necessarily think you're getting a lot there. I do like Austin Hill, $7,800. Kind of sucks he's coming off that win. That typically bumps up ownership, especially in the Xfinity Series, if somebody who is this cheap won the last race. I think he'll carry a bit of an inflated ownership there, but I'd rather play him over Snyder. I do like Riley Herbst a lot. If you've listened to any of Pierce's stuff or look back at the races at Auto Club, and certainly the one in 2020, Riley Herbst should have won this race. Actually, did I say that right? Hold on. Yeah, I do. See, I got so much stuff going on in my mind. But yeah, I do think Riley Herbst is going to be a contender for a top 6 here. I think Creed So when we get them to Creed and I mean even Austin Hill to an extent, these guys aren't used to saving tires in the Truck Series. So maybe you count that against Austin Hill. Maybe you count that against Sheldon Creed. But Creed's going to go out there. I think he's easy to project for a top 7 or a wreck. I don't see Creed doing much more than finishing in one of those two positions. Let me see here. Let's see. Yeah, so we get to Sam Mayer. I'd much rather play Creed. I'd much rather play Herbst. Castle, $8,900. Castle should qualify 8th, probably. I'd probably have him finishing around 6th. Don't know if he's going to offer upside. He's certainly not going to lead laps in this race. Trevor Bayne coming in, which questionable call, man. He's got a lot of money coming in from that coffee company he's made with his wife. $9,100 in the 18 car. Which, if Hemrick could not never get it done, because he always gets fast laps and stuff, but Trevor Bayne is a few notches down from Daniel Hemrick, and so do I see Trevor Bayne in this race getting fast laps? I don't. Do I see him competing for a win? I don't. Do I see him running top 7 and finishing 4th, 5th, 6th? Is that a race that I see Trevor Bayne having? Yeah, I think it is. Who's the Joe Gibbs car that I would want to have? A guy who has been consistently with the same team, expects, or we know what to expect from it. I'd rather go to Brandon Jones. I like Brandon Jones here. I like Josh Berry here. I like Cole Custer here. I think I'd rather go to them because I do feel like I'm either going to play the pole sitter in this race, which I'm going to imagine is either going to be Ty Gibbs, Gregson. There's even a chance like Brandon Jones can get the pole in this race. And so when we get here, it'll certainly go to who's starting the pole and who's going to have the better equipment here. I don't mind Cole Custer. I know this is a fully funded SHR ride because good old Cole Custer's daddy would not allow him to, drive. And I use the term daddy, in that sense because that's what it is, he's just good old daddy's boy. Just his father is not going to let him drive a regular crap-tastic vehicle. When we move on to, I don't know what to do with Allgaier right now. Allgaier is I'll have my opinion on Allgaier coming out of practice. Because I can either see Allgaier being the 4th fastest car or I can see him being the fastest car. Hemrick is going to just not have the speed that he had in the Joe Gibbs car last year. Same thing with A. Jomanair. These guys have got to show me time in practice. I love Noah Gragson. Right now, it's Herbst, it's Brandon Jones, it's Gregson and Ty Gibbs. Those are the guys I'm looking at right now. Noah Gragson should have won at Phoenix last year. had David Starr run into him, but this is the race that just screams to me that Noah Gragson is going to be fast at. Noah Gragson is going to run the high line. He's not going to put it in the wall unless he's running 3rd or 2nd trying to make something happen, but I like Gragson a lot in this race. I really do. When we look at, let me bring up Gregson really quick. Let's look at his track history real quick. Might scare him off. I assume he got in the wall or got involved in the crash in 2020. I just can't remember. I watched this race and I can't remember what happened to Gregson in it. Finished 12th in 2019. But man, I like Gregson here. I like specifically looking at that Homestead race last year. Actually, let me go ahead and look at one more thing real quick. Oh my god, I'm older than Noah Gragson. Oh my gosh. I thought he was older than me. I'm older than him by like 2 months. That's interesting. I did not expect that. But yeah, let's look. Should have won the race at Homestead. I want to look at Atlanta last time. Let's see. What did he do at Atlanta last year real quick? I should just bring it over here. I'm not breaking my neck or anything. Let's see. Oh, yeah, he started in the back. I forgot about that. at Atlanta. Oh yeah, because they weren't qualifying last year. I totally forgot about that. Like, why did he start 30th? But it's because he blew a motor at Phoenix. So we had to drive through the field, finished 4th at Atlanta. I like that. Darlington started 5th, finished 4th, led 40 laps. I like that. I want to see that. And specifically, I'd look at Homestead, Atlanta, and Darlington, and those are the tracks that Gregson is speaking to me right now. Let's see, anything else? Nashville is interesting. Not something to really die off of. I did have a Kyle Busch race. Gregson led 2 laps in that race. Got to be under yellow or something. There's no way he did that under green. When they came back to Atlanta, he started 9th, finished 3rd, led 5 laps in that race. I might have to watch the second Atlanta race back after this. I like Gregson here a lot. So those are the 4 guys that I really want to focus on entering this week. It's Gregson, it's Ty Gibbs, it's Brandon Jones, and it's Riley Herbst. Those are the guys that are picking my interest. And secondary right now would probably be Justin Allgaier, people like Sheldon Creed, people like Austin Hill, and Timmy Hill. Timmy Hill is he's going to be chalked. There's no way people don't look in to see what he's driving. But I like Hill, man. I like Timmy Hill a lot. I like the idea of playing two guys from the 6 or 5K ranges together, and trying to get a lot of good guys in your lineup. That's where I'm at right now. And I want to put this out there. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys for the live shows on Saturday. And the picks video for the Cup Series. Man, I'm scratching like an addict. I need to put lotion on or something. I feel like I just haven't had my hit, and I'm just scratching. I can't feel my skin. So, if you want to support me, Patreon, go to the link above, or my finger's too high. Link above or below. However, if you join right now, just be aware that's going to charge you again on the 1st. So maybe you just say, hey, you know what? I don't want to support you right now for Auto Club, but I'll support you when March comes around, and that's fine. You can do that. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys later.